one who talked me and Phil into doing soil blocks.
Yep.
And Phil already talked about it, but like I've been using, I'd always use seed starting trays, and I thought like the best bet was like if I'm going to use seed starting trays, get like the at least the not single use ones, like the ones you can throw in the dishwasher, you can run over, and they're great, and they worked fine. But this year I was like, okay, I'm going to do the seed starting trays, but as a experiment, I'm going to try these soil blocks, and man, I'm telling you, just my mediocre version of it did exponential. Like I had crazy root growth, like zero transplant shock. That's the biggest thing, is no transplant shock.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly.
Yes. Yep. And stuff grows big. Like you wouldn't think the blocks would stay together. That's the biggest thing. That's I was like, oh, these stupid blocks are going to fall apart. They don't fall apart. If you do it right, if you make the right, mixture
density.
They don't break apart. How did you get started with soil blocking? When did you start that?
I still have my first soil blocker that I got like probably almost 15 years ago now, and like it's rusty, but still working. It's like surface rust.
They last forever. They last forever.
They'll last for a long time. You'll pass them down to your kids. I've seen them at antique stores too before, like where they're like probably a few decades old. It's an old technology. Like, there's examples of, the first transplants were just people gathering plants and packing them by hand with mud, that's how, kind of some of the birth of agriculture took place. And so this is just basically creating a metal form that helps you make lots of these blocks really quickly. So we've got ones you can use by hand. We have big ones that you can like stand up and make, up to 35 at a time. And what kind of got me started was Elliot Coleman, who's like the godfather of organic market gardening in the U.S. He popularized this, brought it over from Europe. It's really common in Europe, like not just amongst home gardeners, but even like the big commercial vegetable growers that do, 100 acres of tomato plants. They do soil blocks, as well as
and Ladbroke is that brand, right? The English brand. That's the big one, right?
Yeah, that's like the big one for like the personal use ones. And then there's companies, like different companies that make huge like machines that'll make like thousands of blocks at a time in a big assembly line.
That's so interesting.
And so that's what they use like commercially. So a lot of people are like, oh, soil blocks are it's just a novelty kind of thing. But like that's what the big farms, the efficient farms, are using commonplace in Europe, because you don't have to carry around plastic trays, toss plastic trays. Transplanting is, like I said, like less shock. It uses the soil more efficiently. You get a bigger plant with less soil. So there's a lot of reasons to use it. And if you can figure out a way to make them quickly and efficiently, then I think the labor, you save labor down the road. You're not having to restack trays. You're not having to like pinch plants out of pots and trying to pop them out of pots and stuff like that. I can grab 35 blocks of broccoli in one hand and then just walk out to the garden and like break them off and transplant them. It takes labor to make the blocks, but it saves you labor in other areas.
If you had to pick out beginner basic tools for soil blocker, let's say that I've never done it, because I haven't. And what's the minimum tools that you'd need to get started?
Yeah. So probably we have like a small, it's like we call it what's it called? the 4.
I'll pull it up.
The medium 4. So that makes it about like a 2-inch block. And that's what I have. It works for almost everything. We even have a bigger version of that, which makes 12 of the same size. And it's a great size because you could do cucumbers in there. You just have to transplant them a little early, and you can do lettuce. The lettuce, you could almost get to a full head of lettuce in a 2-inch soil block.
100%.
And so it's a little overkill for lettuce. I do our lettuce in our little 3/4-inch blocks, which is called the mini 20, or the standing 35, which makes like a 1-inch block. That's my favorite one, the standing 35. It's perfect for like all cut flowers, lettuces, anything in the brassica family, and all the alliums. So that's like mostly everything except for peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers. That's like the perfect soil blocker.
and it's an investment. Like sometimes with like you were doing something like this and you were doing like a market, like you were selling seed starts, you know, it's an investment, but like I've noticed over the years about, you know, buying tools like Felcos and things like that, it's an investment up front, but if you take care of your tools, they last forever. And these things don't really break down if you take care of them and clean them off over time.
Yeah. And that's one of our big philosophies is like, we want tools that do lots of things, last forever, are American made, and then are recyclable at end of life. So like we use wooden handles, we use metal, so it's like infinitely recyclable. So that's one of the one thing exception to that is our drop seeders, which like drop seeds on top of the soil blocks really quickly. Is those you have to be able to see through them to line up the holes. So those are made out of acrylic, and that's like the only plastic thing that we make.
The razor is that multifunction tool that you were talking about, like that you sent me, and that is my favorite tool in the garden right now.
Yeah, Josh, have you seen this?
No, show me.
So he's got them in short handle and long handle. I've got the short handle version, even though I think it's like what 18 inches long. It's pretty sturdy.
Yeah.
But the tool itself has got multiple uses where it's like a stirrup hoe. You can use it like for nailing in staples. You can use it for pulling weeds. You can use it. It's multiple uses. It's really really
and
smart.
Then with that little notch on there, you can use it as a pry bar, which Josh, you might appreciate, like pulling up saplings. Like if you got invasive, privet or something, it'll actually pull up privet like a crowbar.
That is because you can get the leverage from the tool. What's the width of that? Is that like an inch and a half? I can't tell the scale.
Yeah, it's an inch and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the head itself is 5 inches. And that's kind of like our broad fork that you mentioned earlier. Like I space our teeth on 6-inch centers. So if you click on that second picture on the razor, let's see, down a little bit, right there. Yeah, we get.
I see. So you can work
use our
between
broad
it.
fork to actually mark rows on the bed, so the carrots are spaced every 6 inches perfectly, and then the razor's 5 inches wide, so it goes right between the rows, and you can cultivate between those rows at a walking pace. And then same thing with it being an inch and a half wide. If you planted a row really densely, you could even go through and like kill every other carrot or beet or lettuce and like actually use it to thin your root crops as well.
Yeah, I think the wooden handle is what I don't like. Fiberglass handles. I don't like, plastic handles. I like wooden handles. I think it's so important.
Yeah, and we actually like as part of that, mission of like sustainability. We actually tomorrow we'll actually release our wood and leather wax. So like I've made a U.S. Ingredient sustainable conditioner for wood, metal, and leather. And so, one of the things that I've seen happen is with the handles, sometimes they're metal. And I had a friend that bought like the cheap, like Vivor cultivator or whatever. And when he put pressure on it, it snapped and his hand slid and it sliced like his hand, like wide open. That'll have, unless they're a thick metal, but if they're coming from overseas, they're probably not. That's not a good idea. The fiberglass, like it goes bad eventually, and then it can't be recycled. And then if a wood handles has like a poly or a lacquer finish, sometimes that can even trap moisture, and then it causes it to kind of rot and split from the inside. So we use natural wax coating on all of our wood handles, and then that way you just reapply it every 6 months, and it'll last for years and years and years.
That's usually the first thing I do when I get like a wooden handle too. I if they have any kind of varnish or whatever, I sand it off. I typically will take it and do like a little Shugibon. I'll take like my torch and kind of torch it a little bit and kind of it helps like it seals it. And then I'll add either like some walrus oil or some mineral oil. And once a year or so, like usually during the winter time, I'll take all my wooden handle tools, I sand them, and I sometimes I even mark them with paint. I learned it from what's his name, Wrangler Star. He shows how to take care of your wooden handle tools because wooden handle tools will last forever if you oil them. Because dry wood is no good. You got to keep them oiled. You got to keep them taken care of. And I've seen wooden handle tools with giant cracks, and if you sand them down and you add like some mineral oil, it absorbs it and those cracks go away. Like good
cool.
tools. Oh yeah, you can definitely yes for sure.
And leather's the same way too. Like I was going through like several rounds of boots. Like I probably go through like a pair of Blundstones every year or two. And so I've started actually using the wax that I've made on the Blundstones and on our gloves. And like, I'll probably hit 4 years on the pair I have. So it's keeping them from splitting because like you said, like dry wood's no good and dry leather is no good too.
Yeah.
You know, it's supposed to crack and then loses its water resistant properties. So I just keep putting it on there and keep it moist.
Yeah. Go ahead, Josh.
I used to work in construction, and I had a nice pair of like Red Wing boots, and every day I would like lather those things up. And by the end of the day, they were dusty and dry, but like they were so moist and soft because I just kept them lathered, kept the leather lathered up.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like a lost. You mentioned soil blocking and Elliot Coleman, and like reading his book New Organic Gardener 15 years ago was like such an inspiration to me to kind of see this French way of doing the market gardening and how and even a lot of English market gardener, allotment type gardener, their style of gardening is just so different than American gardening, where it's like till a whole field, you know, like plant everything in like big spaced apart rows. It's like, and in modern gardening, there's just so much like disposable tools. Like these big companies are just trying to sell like disposable crap annually to you. And that European style is just so like, this hoe was given to me by my dad, and I sand it and I oil it and I take care of it. And I put my, I've got garden boots and I've got house shoes, and I like, it's just such a appreciation and dedication to like the tools of the trade, where like our modern American society is just, you just go buy a new pair of shoes every year.
No, I love it. Every decision and action is intentional. And so kind of like how a plant behaves. But but that's a beautiful way you said it. And it's like everything has a purpose. And I think there's something to be said for the preparedness, the preparation of a tool, like the cleaning, the maintenance, the care of it sets the tone. It's like when I was told to like make your bed in the morning, you set the tone for your day when you kind of prep something nicely to reward you later, you know? And
that's a good point.
It's like a pay it forward action, but the result is you get 100 years of something instead of 2 years. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
There's definitely, we definitely live in a disposable, mindset, like a disposable era where everything is, plastic, it lasts for a season and you throw it out.